Before we begin, it's important to give full credit where it belongs. This presentation is based entirely on the work and public lectures of Professor Kevin Knuth, a physicist whose research focuses on applying first principles physics to unexplained aerial phenomena. What you are about to see is not speculation, not science fiction, and not a claim about extraterrestrials. It is simply a visual narration of Professor Knuth's data-driven analysis, originally presented in his talks and papers. The goal here is simple: to look at the data calmly, logically, and without stigma, and ask what physics itself tells us. For decades, we've collected enormous amounts of data on unidentified aerial phenomena, radar data, infrared video, and credible eyewitness reports. These aren't blurry photos or single sightings. They are multiple sensors confirming the same objects at the same time. And yet, much of this data remains largely untouched by mainstream science. Why? The slide illustrates what Professor Knuth calls an academic stigma, a barrier that prevents rigorous analysis, not because the data is weak, but because the topic itself has been considered taboo. Professor Kevin Knuth approaches this topic not as a believer, but as a skeptic and a physicist. He openly states that unfamiliar engineering can often look like anomalous physics. His background in information physics, Bayesian analysis, and quantum mechanics shapes his approach. Start with data, apply conservative assumptions, and let physics speak for itself, without jumping to conclusions. The methodology is straightforward and conservative. Data from radar, infrared video, and eyewitness reports are used as inputs. Standard physics equations are applied. No speculative theories, no exotic assumptions. From this, measurable quantities such as acceleration, velocity, and power output are calculated. Importantly, lower bound estimates are used, meaning the true values could be even higher. Here we see a visual catalog of sightings from different countries and different decades. These aren't isolated events. They form a global, long-term pattern spanning over 70 years. The consistency across time and geography suggests we are not looking at random mistakes, but at a recurring class of phenomena. In 2004, U.S. Navy radar tracked an object during the USS Nimitz encounters. The object dropped from 28,000 feet to sea level in under a second. When Professor Knuth applies basic physics to this maneuver, the result is staggering. A minimum acceleration of 5,400 Gs. For comparison, trained fighter pilots can tolerate about 9 Gs. This isn't a small difference, it's orders of magnitude. Acceleration like that requires energy, an enormous amount of it. Even assuming a modest mass, the power required exceeds 1,100 gigawatts, more than the total nuclear output of the United States. And yet, there's no explosion, no heat signature, no shock wave. According to known physics, that absence is just as puzzling as the power itself. This problem isn't modern. As early as 1954, Hermann Oberth, the father of modern rocketry, was already discussing radar-measured objects traveling at 42,000 miles per hour. These measurements were taken seriously by early aerospace pioneers, long before modern UFO culture existed. At Minot Air Force Base, an object was tracked descending toward a nuclear weapons facility. Calculations show speeds around Mach 12 and accelerations near 200 Gs. What's equally important is what happened next. The incident was classified, suppressed, and removed from public reporting channels. The data existed, but disappeared from scientific discourse. A commercial Boeing 747 encountered multiple unidentified objects over Alaska. The objects were tracked by both onboard radar and FAA ground radar. Professor Knuth's analysis indicates speeds approaching 260,000 miles per hour without sonic booms or thermal signatures. The observed flight characteristics, extreme acceleration, inertial damping, and energy efficiency, are precisely what would be required for interstellar travel. This does not identify the origin of these objects. It simply highlights that their performance aligns with known physical requirements for such travel. These objects also exhibit unusual energy signatures. Reports include extreme luminosity, intense electric fields, and strong magnetic effects. Each of these signatures is measurable and testable using established physics. Some objects have been observed moving seamlessly between air and water. They do so without slowing down or creating splash effects expected under hydrodynamics. This capability, known as trans-medium travel, challenges conventional propulsion models. During a documented naval encounter, an underwater object traveled at extreme speed and acceleration. The object appeared to interact minimally with water and caused electrical failures aboard the ship as it passed. When all measurements are considered together, acceleration, speed, power output, electromagnetic effects, and transmedium travel, a consistent conclusion emerges. The data indicates the presence of a technology that exceeds known human engineering capabilities. Professor Knuth emphasizes that the true mystery is not the data itself, but the long-standing reluctance to study it scientifically.